So in the Gospels, there's a story about Jesus coming to his disciples and approaching them, telling them that he's going to wash their feet, right? In those days, it was a custom for people to wash your feet when you came into their home, because back then, you used to wear sandals, and you used to have to walk around a lot in the dust and in the dirt, and so your feet would get really dirty, right? And so it was a custom that when you came to somebody's home, as a sign of respect and humility, they would wash your feet, right? Well, Jesus is telling his disciples that he's going to wash their feet, right? And Peter kind of rejects that idea, He kind of rejects that idea. He's not comfortable with it, right? And so that brings up a very interesting question, a very interesting topic. Most of the time when we read that scripture, when we hear about that scripture, when we hear that story, we think typically of the teaching that it's trying to teach us is servanthood, to be humble. Jesus was trying to teach us to serve one another, right? Humility. But what about the flip side of that, right? What about the flip side of that, where, in a sense, you have to, as a man, you have to let another man bow down and wash your feet? Obviously, Peter wasn't comfortable with this for more than one reasons, right? He wasn't comfortable with it because he understood who Jesus was. And I think he even says, I should be washing your feet to Jesus. So in a sense, that was part of it, right? He didn't think that he was worthy for Jesus to be washing his feet. But also, I think that it would just in general would be uncomfortable. I would be very uncomfortable with another man washing my feet. Which brings up the topic that I wanted to talk about in this video. Us as men, I think maybe that scripture was trying to teach us something deeper, because us as men, we're not comfortable with a certain level of affection, a certain level of intimacy with other men, right? And so it makes it hard for us to receive love. A lot of us, maybe it was because of the relationships that we had with our fathers, or for whatever reasons, right? We have a hard time receiving love. We have a hard time opening up to other men, opening up to one another. Me, myself, I have always been a lot more comfortable in my relationships with women. With other men, I've always kind of carried myself in a very respectful manner, always carried myself a certain way. And to some degree, I see a lot in that scripture that I could take from it, in a sense of learning humility, in a sense, maybe not necessarily allowing somebody to wash my feet, but just allowing another man to do something for me, something kind, to help me out sometimes. Even to that degree, we don't like to ask for help. At least it's hard for me to ask for help from somebody else, unless it's like my brother or my father, or one of my kids or something. But just in general, from another man, to ask for help, that's kind of hard for me. And so I want to encourage you, if you're a man, I want to encourage you to read that scripture and maybe look at it from a different perspective, and not necessarily from the perspective of Jesus, that is going to teach how to be humble, how to serve another man, but from the perspective of the one who's having his feet washed, right? That sometimes it might not be comfortable. You might not be comfortable with allowing another man to do something for you, something that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe there's feelings involved, right? Maybe if another man is approaching you for friendship, right? And maybe you're not too comfortable with friendships with men. Maybe the life that you came from, like the life where I came from, when we had what we call homeboys, we didn't show too much affection, right? We were playful, we played around and we joked around, right? But on another level, like, we weren't very affectionate towards one another. We showed our affection to one another through, being there if one of us needed to go fight, or if we had a problem with somebody, we would go back each other up, and we would party and hang out and have fun and do all that stuff that you do when you're in the world. But real deep affection, a real deep level of friendship, it was hard to find. And I think a lot of us, a lot of men, it's hard for us to truly accept that. So let that scripture challenge you to be more comfortable, to be more open to ask for help, and to receive help from another man. See, that's why God created us, that we would have relationship with one another. We are supposed to live as a community. We're supposed to help one another. And a lot of times, speaking for myself, I'm more than willing to go and help another person. But when it comes to asking for help, that challenges me, to be honest with you. And I think it stems from pride. I think it all stems from pride, that we have a certain amount of pride that we want to say, I don't need help. I can do this on my own. I don't need you to wash my feet. I can wash my feet on my own. We like to do things for ourselves and for those that we love. And as men, we like to serve others. Like, I love to do things for my children. I love to do things for my family, right? But it's harder when I need somebody to help me out, or to accept something, a gesture of kindness, especially, like I said, from another man. So yeah, I hope this blesses you. I hope you go and study out that scripture, and I hope that you allow it to stretch you a little bit. And I'm sorry I didn't put the actual scripture verses, but if you just look it up, it's Jesus washing his disciples' feet. If you look that up, I'm sure you'll get tons of references to the scripture itself. All right, so be blessed.